Jesse Love dominates the Xfinity's return to Rockingham. Plus, don't blame Katherine Legge, blame NASCAR for raining on Kane Saturday. Welcome back to the Breaking Bob channel. Hope y'all are doing well. It is time to talk about the Rockingham revival. It's finally here. We did it. We got to see cars on track this weekend at the Rock. Good to see that. Of course, Cup off this weekend. They're one weekend as we get to go 28 straight weeks after this. But if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Always talking NASCAR and racing on a daily basis here at Breaking Bob on this channel. Well, let's just get right into it because the Xfinity Series just saw the checkered flag fly a few minutes ago in Rockingham, North Carolina, where Jesse Love, a very, very thorough domination today. Maybe not on the laps led category, but the fastest car today won. And the Xfinity Series prospect from the RCR pipeline, of course, already announced this week he had 2 more Cup Series starts for Beard Motorsports after his Bristol debut in the Cup Series last weekend for RCR. The sky's the limit for Jesse Love. And at a track today where it was all about driver car control, he was the king of it. And only 53 laps led, although really, it was like I said, just the way he delivered it. Looked like he was in control with that car most of the day. And even on that last overtime restart, starting in third behind both Sammy Smith and Taylor Gray, thought we might get another Martinsville there for a minute, but no. He showed patience, got the bumper to Smith just a little bit, or got him loose and just slid right under him, took the lead coming into the backstretch on that green-white checkered, and never looked back. And he dominated most of that third stage. One of those final restarts, they're late, got a little loose, saw a couple of cars go by me, thought, okay, well, that's it. There goes the fastest car once again. No, Jesse Love shows the poise that we expect from him and really get used to it. I think that this is going to be multiple wins. He's one of these favorites, I think, to win the Xfinity Series championship. Both RCR cars are fast when you compare both him and Austin Hill, but Jesse Love was the superior car today. Not too bad for a driver who wasn't even born the last time the Xfinity Series was at Rockingham. But once again, congrats to Jesse Love, his second win in the Xfinity Series this season, third in his career. And I would imagine we see that 2-car in victory lane many, many more times this season. But I mentioned the overtime restart, 14 total cautions today. Wasn't quite the Martinsville calamity we saw, even though Jamie McMurray said, oh, I feel you guys now. I know what you felt in Martinsville. The Xfinity booth quickly shut him. No, you do not. That was not Martinsville. This was just a little bit different today. It was a couple green flag longer runs here. It looked like it was going to be a fuel mileage race, and ultimately it was a fuel mileage race, just not in the green flag cycle like we saw in the Truck Series on Friday night with Tyler Ankrum breaking his 130 race win streak. No, this was the one where, similar to Nashville last year with the 5 overtime restarts, as soon as those green flags hit on those restarts, you saw Christian Eckes sputter, stack up the field behind him. Multiple just restarts where the intensity, the urgency was definitely there. The track position was key. I don't want to say that necessarily that it would have been a bad race necessarily with the Cup Series, but I don't think it's quite ready for it. I think that the trucks and Xfinity really put on a great show. This is a driver development track. I think the surface is warm, but it's going to get even better the next few years. But I don't think the Cup Series is quite ready. And hear me out. It's not that I don't want to see them there. I think the atmosphere was fantastic. 32,000 sellout seats at Rockingham. And it's a part of NASCAR history. But when you look at the battle for the lead, I think of stage 2. You've got Carson Kvapil on 2 fresh tires, 2 old tires. You've got Jesse Love trying to hunt him down. And it was great racecraft from both drivers. But it just showed that not only was the tire fall off not quite there, but the aero dependency, that clean air for Carson Kvapil. When he was out front holding off Jesse Love, there was multiple times when Love was clearly the faster car, but he just wasn't able to get there. And these Xfinity cars are a lot more aero dependent, more of the Gen 6 style NASCAR series. So I can't even imagine what the next gen NASCAR would be like. And now with the new reconfiguration, I guess you can call it Rockingham, where now it is technically less than a mile, so it would be classified as a short track. We went through it with Bristol last week. We know the history of the next gen car at the short tracks. I'm not really quite necessarily shutting down Rockingham for the next gen car, but I'm not frothing at the mouth like it. I think that it was great what it was this weekend. Easter weekend, maybe an off-series week with a Cup Series, that you get the Xfinity and Truck Series there. I think, like I said, it's a great development track for these drivers. It gets to show them car control, sort of a bull ring style where it's a longer stretch or longer front stretch and back stretch, but still tight turns. And it just, the way that these races were, again, a lot of cautions today, 14 in the Xfinity Series, but it wasn't just outright calamity where it was just guys beating and banging in each other at Martinsville. It was just guys learning the track today. So I'm all for Xfinity and trucks returning to. I think maybe we wait a few years and see what the schedule looks like for the Cup Series before we return to Rockingham. But I think we're in the right direction. Great to see cars on track and the facilities, the crowd, all of it. Just this was a win all around for NASCAR this weekend. Outside of maybe the ARCA race today, that was a little bit of a tough watch, but no, big win today all around. Okay, maybe not great for everyone. We might as well get to the elephant in the room. A lot of people are talking about it on social media. Everyone was very excited about Kane returning to the NASCAR world for the first time since 2018. Qualified P4 and in practice yesterday had the fastest 20-lap cycle in practice averages. So wasn't like he was going to be slow in a brand new chassis for RCR in their third entry, the 33 car. Kane showed decent speed for stage 1, and then, well, lap 52 is where we're going to go ahead and just get into it now, because Katherine Legge was a lap car at the point now. She's in the 53 after bumping JJ Yaley from that car after she DNQ'd. They put her in that car. Sponsorship kind of bought that ride out. We'll get to that in a second, but regardless, Wallace and Kane were battling inside the top 10, trying to get around Katherine Legge going into the turn, and Legge was a little bit slower going into the turn. She braked a little bit quicker into entry, definitely. But Sawallich kind of sent it into the turn a little too low on her, and they both touched, collected each other, both into the wall, and Kane got damage as well that really sent him behind the 8 ball. He was 2 laps down at one point, got his way back to the leading lap, survived the carnage in stage 3, ultimately did finish P15, and of course the dialogue on social media is going to be, oh, well, Katherine Legge caused all of this. But William Sawalich did nobody any favors here. He really shows the rookie mentality there of, well, I've got to get the position right now. I can't wait. And sent it into that turn with lap traffic that's much slower, inexperienced driver on ovals. William Sawalich is more to blame than anyone really is giving him credit for, I think, here. Everyone's wanting to point at Katherine Legge, who was definitely, she should have been higher up on the line, but it's easier to be the couch racer here. William Sawalich did nobody any favors there, took himself out of a good contending car today, put damage out there, took out Kane through no fault of his own. Just shows that William Sawalich definitely has a long way to go. And this is a driver who was rushed, really, if you ask me, through the pipeline after being in ARCA last year. They threw him right into the Xfinity series in that Joe Gibbs Racing car. And I'm not really sure he's ready for it, if you ask me. The results haven't been there quite necessarily when you compare him to the rest of the Xfinity rookie class, but this is just one of those teaching moments, and it shows the difference between somebody like Jesse Love and somebody like William Sawalich, both young, very fast drivers in very good equipment. But Jesse Love has been there for now, too. This is his second year in the Xfinity series. He's got the racecraft a little bit more than someone like William Sawalich, who, again, you could argue was rushed through the ranks, maybe should have done a little bit of truck series this year, but I think for Katherine Legge, let's get into that now, because I mentioned she did not qualify today, even though she was not one of the slowest cars. The way the metric was, she had to qualify, I think, 5 cars higher than where she did to make the race. She didn't. But her sponsorship wanted her to be in the race, so they found a car. They found the number 53 car that JJ Yaley had qualified. They bought him out of that ride, put her in that entry for the number 53 instead, put her sponsorship on it, put her out there, put her in the back of the field and said, figure it out. We'll put your seat in there. She's in a car that she's never driven before. She's in a car that her seat was thrown in there last minute. She's barely got any practice at this track. She's been set up to not succeed. And I'm not saying that she is completely not to blame here, but it just really exposes NASCAR's kind of willing, open door policy that anyone can race. And that's the beauty of NASCAR. But for Katherine Legge, who her entire experience is road courses. I know she's qualified for the Indy 500, but she's an open wheel driver. Let her get a little bit more experience on road courses instead of her experience in the NASCAR Cup Series at Phoenix, at Short Track, now North Wilkesboro in the Xfinity Series. It's just not setting her up to do any favors here, and it makes her look bad compared to the rest of the field. It just shows the talent it takes to be on an oval. Even someone like Kane, who hasn't been in the field for years. That was his discipline, was oval racing. And you saw him early, even in the race when he got in dirty air, barely hold on to it, with Jesse Love cutting down his nose coming into a turn. For Katherine Legge, yes, she's going to get a lot of slack on social media, but more people should be saying NASCAR is the one that really has not set her up for success here. Maybe I'm just trying to give her more the benefit of the doubt because, again, she has a great extensive background as far as a racing career. Better than anyone here that's going to be commenting, I promise that. Again, it's just a tough situation all around. She probably shouldn't be out there, but, she bought out the seat. JJ Ely qualified that car. It is what it is. But it just is a shame that Kane was such an exciting story today. And, lap 52 in stage 1 to have that cut short. Just a shame. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below about how that whole situation goes. And is there a way to prevent something like this without just, completely shutting off the doors in NASCAR like F1 does? Finally, before we get out of here, let's look at some of the finishing results from the Xfinity side, because in the top 5, some drivers that should be commended. Parker Retzlaff, P3, Harrison Burton, 4th, and Brennan Poole, 5th. Brennan Poole just putting together finishes after a tough week last weekend at Bristol, where he was actually in that Dash for Cash top 4. A great bounce back with a top 5 for Alpha Prime. Harrison Burton, really with AM Racing, maybe not the finishing results there, but the speed, I think, has definitely improved. And for a guy who was in the Cup Series last year, it's a good bounce back year for him. I do think maybe even with the results not there. And Parker Retzlaff, man, that is great qualifying result. Had to get his track position back after clawing and scratching his way through the field in stage 3, but a 3rd place finishing result. Great for Parker Retzlaff after not even making the race at COTA earlier in the year for the Xfinity Series. Great to see him in the Xfinity Series, at least, bouncing back and somewhat thriving in some sort of way too. Jesse Love's teammate, Austin Hill, 7th place. Hand up on that overtime restart when you saw Austin Hill in 4th. Did you think he was going to steal that finish just like in Martinsville? Because there was a part of me that sure did, but not to be. Jeb Burton, a 9th place finish. He really did run well today as well. Maybe it's just the Burton roots. It's destined to be the Burtons in the top 10 at North Wilkesboro, no matter what generation it is. But great to see the Burtons both doing well. I guess the family lineage does run true there in North Wilkesboro. On the other hand, Ryan Sieg, leading late in stage 3, runs out of gas during pace laps in one of the final restarts. He ended up finishing 19th. That guy is so close to getting his first Xfinity Series win, but just seems to each week find a different way to lose these. Carson Coapel, 17th, showed pace today, but stage 3 got mired back in the field and traffic, and then part of the attrition of the race. And then Justin Allgaier, 22nd, his 6th straight top 5 finish streak did get snapped this week. That was an incredible streak, but he will bounce back, I have a feeling. Not to worry. But overall, today at North Wilkesboro, thought the racing was really, really strong. Even if the cautions definitely put a little bit of a damper on, I think the action was there from start to finish. Whether it was Kane, Jesse Love, from start to finish, I think there was something for all. And again, you got to keep in mind, this is the Xfinity Series. They are the ones putting on the show this weekend, not the Cup Series. So keep that with a grain of salt at the end of the day. We're marketing our developmental stars for the future, and they get to have the main event this weekend, the Truck Series yesterday as well. It's great for the sport, I think, and it also gives the Cup Series a weekend off. So everyone wins. I like to see a little bit more of this, maybe 1 or 2 other weekends like this, where the Cup gets the well-deserved weekend off instead of 28 straight weeks after this. That's a grind, but you also still have some NASCAR action. That way, we're not cold turkey, because us race fans, we don't do bye weeks well. We don't do off weeks well. So not planning on doing that here at the channel, here at Breaking Bob. Of course, if you like what you saw, like this video. It helps me out a ton. Subscribe to the channel for more NASCAR content. We've got next weekend, Talladega. Sure, that'll be a quiet weekend. ARCA, Trucks, Xfinity, Cup. I believe all 4 are running. I have to double check that, but I believe all 4 are running. So we'll have an action-packed weekend here at the channel. Stay tuned for more. I do appreciate you watching. Thank you. We'll see you next time.